I was doing a quote, yep. Dr. Carter G. Woods.
All right. Well, hello. Welcome to the Lost Confederacy channel. This is week 12 of the 13-week fiscal program for American Prisoners of War. You have myself, Chief Biko. Today we have Chief Alligator, Chief Black Coat, as well as Chief Quietwater. And here, as always, we focus on American. Today we'll have Chief Alligator with the 12 steps.
Okay, can y'all see this?
Yep, I am.
You good? Anybody get a thumbs up? Anybody can see?
Good to go.
All right, American Prisoners of War, 13-week practical program of action for each American prisoner of war. Step 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step 2, establish who established that estate. Step 3, what tribe and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. Step 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations? Step 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3. In addition, field trips to APOW landmarks in that city, county, and state are needed. Step 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Step 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, subways, corner stores, etc. Step 8, all businesses need operating cash, spend money with American businesses. Step 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Step 11, the US government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, the Gold Standard Act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American prisoners of war no longer have faith in the US government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Step 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. Have them learn about an American inventor. Have them know about our heroes. They should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. They should know the nation of people prior to European invasion, militarily and culturally. 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming America and attaches us to the history and laws of the US government. Every estate American prisoners of war live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in 13 weeks, one fiscal quarter will bring us together for our common cause. Today, I'm going to go with the step that jumps out to me is don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame, which would be step 6. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the United States government giving a slave holiday that was specifically for an event that happened in Galveston, Texas. So to make everybody in North America act as if they were slaves and were a part of that particular incident in that particular town, it's mind-blowing when the agenda was defund the police, reparations, and the George Floyd Act. So you got no specific financial benefits, you got no specific protection, but what they did give was a holiday, and that holiday, as I said, is specific to a town in Texas, but now everybody who's melanated on this land is supposed to claim slavery as if your people were slaves. We were not slaves, we were actually prisoners of war on military work camps. What other step jumps out to y'all today?
I'll keep it in alignment with, not supporting, European holidays. We got 2 holidays today that just hit me. We got Father's Day and you have June 19th. So just, another tradition or another celebration added to our, our process here in America. And just got to kind of, put those holidays down, come up with our own holidays. I like when you talk about that, Chief Alligator, us creating our own holidays. Nothing has to be given to us. Nothing has to be, laid out for us. We can always branch off, write something down, come together and execute. But Not celebrating European holidays today. You got 2 of them. That's double the money. So it's like, we got to start picking up on the games here.
Which one stands out to me is number one. I think just going back and knowing where we originated from, and I think that's the foundation of everything moving forward. Finding out where we came from, where our family came from, and building on that. I think that allows for us to understand a lot of the information that we are reading up to this point is basically knowing where we came from, and that's step one in the process.
I agree. I was looking through pictures today, getting all teary-eyed, like, man, look where we come from. This whole Africa theory is just insane when I look at my family's pictures. It's like, we are a whole different people.
Correct. And that kind of piggyback off of all you all, I would say shoot really 1 through 3, because they kind of all deal with, looking at yourself, like you were just talking about the Chief Black Coat, looking at your own family history, your own family lineage, and then determining, hey, this is where I come from, this land. Like you were stating too, Chief Alligator, like, we get painted with this slave narrative when it's actually, prisoner of war on a military work camp. So even if we just start thinking that versus slave, like, okay, we were brought over here to do plant, cotton or work in the sugar fields or whatever. And it's like, nah, you had stuff running from day one. Your family been running stuff on this land. Y'all just got caught up in, pretty much got caught up by the gun. Got caught up by the gun and got sent to work on a military work camp, which is basically exactly what it was. So I think it all kind of just intertwined, but definitely it starts with just knowing who you are and where you come from. Next, I will go ahead and read off this week's Inventor. This week we got a good one. We're not going to go, back in time or anything, because I feel like, maybe the viewer or, some of the audience may say, yeah, y'all, what have you done for me lately? What have you, you all need to update your resume. So definitely wanted to highlight this brother here. His name is Moses West. That's what I didn't do, is actually get his information regarding like date of birth and everything like that. But this brother, not a old looking fella, if I had to guess, probably around maybe like 50, maybe somewhere along that age. But he created the atmospheric water generator. And what this is basically takes, water from the atmosphere and converts it to clean, drinkable water. So he's coming up with, some real futuristic ideas. And what he did was actually help, use his invention to help provide clean water for like places like Flint, Michigan, and other places who are, don't have adequate drinking water. The patent number is 9400131. It was approved on July 26th of 2016. So again, this is something recent, not, we're not in the 1800s or even 1900s. This is 6 years ago. 6 years ago, come July 26th exactly, that this patent was granted. And I want to show this little quick video of the brother and to show exactly what the invention does here.
Clean drinking water, a natural resource we often take for granted near the Great Lakes. But Moses West knows a water crisis is quietly growing.
Everybody knows we're running out of water.
A problem the retired ranger spent the past 4 years working to eliminate.
All the water that we need it exists right here in the air.
He believed so strongly in that idea. In 2015, West invented an atmospheric water generator, or AWG, a machine that takes in air and turns it into drinking water.
We're at the place now, I think, making 50, 100, 200, 250,000, 1 million gallons of water at an incredibly low energy consumption. I think cheaper than groundwater by far. Cheaper than desalination.
So far, 12 of these AWGs exist. West planted them in 3 areas, including the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and Flint, Michigan.
I need to engage with the people here, and I need to show them what this particular machine does, and they need to understand that it is their machine, and I am here for them.
West says his AWGs are federally approved, and the water quality is also tested by the Colorado Water Authority.
It's clean. It's good enough to drink. No bacteria or anything in it. And the reason that we go through the filtration process, so as soon as you turn it on, it starts making water.
You may be wondering how these atmospheric generators are tied to Wisconsin.
Most of West AWGs were manufactured right here in Manitowoc.
And the people of Manitowoc should be proud. Just one unit provides a city with hundreds of gallons of clean water. The best part, it doesn't cost residents a penny. West works with organizations like the Water Rescue Foundation to cover the cost. So far, the response in the community has exceeded his expectations.
And they were
I definitely just wanted to play that. And, you know, I know the question that we always usually ask is, you know, what percentage of the industry do we own of that? But this is clearly an American, and this is his company, this is his invention. So that answer would pretty much be 100%. He has the patent on it. So anybody who wants to use his technology, hey, I need to be broken off. So this is just, I just wanted to highlight this example is, our ingenuity, us being, intuitive. He saw a problem and he made a solution. So this is things that we can do not only on, when it comes to, drinking water. We can do this in regards to anything, as long as we, again, set our mind to it and, apply ourselves towards working towards that goal. So definitely wanted to highlight that.
That's a good pick this week.
And that's interesting. I'm sure Chief Blackcoat can relate to this. First thing I thought about was he has to have a condensing system in order to take air and condense it in the water.
I'm listening to him like,
right, it's the same system. It's just applying it right.
He just pulled air
and
condensed it,
compressed it into liquid.
We're gonna talk about that.
Y'all already understand exactly what was going on. So you're like, okay, if I know that, I know I can provide maintenance on something like that.
Sure, that's an industry.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So again,
shout out to that brother. Wow.
Correct.
But the fact that that's not widely known, again, little known secret.
There's a holiday right there.
Right, exactly. And the fact that Flint is still struggling with their water, that situation has not been rectified.
No cost to people, no cost to that community. So it's like, okay, what are you guys really doing?
Right.
Trying to profit off their suffering again.
Yeah. And I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, but I'm sure he's going through a lot of battles, because that's kind of, it's not scary. That's just who we are. It just naturally comes, but dealing with these people today, it's like, wow, shout out to that man. Mm-hmm. I know he's probably having a lot of battles with, trying to make sure that stays his.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Correct.
Good one.
That's a good one.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and jump to Chief Blackcoat with this week's quote.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Yep. Today we're going to be doing quote 11. Go ahead. Our advanced teachers, like most highly educated Negroes, pay little attention to the things about them except when the shoe begins to pinch one on the other side. Unless they happen to become naked and never think of the production of cotton or wool. Unless they get hungry, they never give any thought to the output of wheat or corn. Unless their friends lose their jobs, they never inquire about their outlook for coal or steel, or how things affect the children whom they are trying to teach. In other words, they live in a world, but they are not of it. How can such person guide the youth without knowing how the things affect the Negro community? What Dr. Carter G. Woodson was trying to say, as far as leadership in the community, and then each individual, being a leader, stop waiting for the green light. A lot of people always talk about whatever they're talking about. It doesn't matter. I think all information is good information, but I see a lot of people always wanting to debate different ways of how we feel. And if you feel a certain way, that's because you understand what's going on in the community and you're outputting or projecting it in that fashion. So again, just with that quote, going back to Dr. Carter G. Woodson, start waiting for that green light, always being aware of your surroundings and understanding the information, or understanding the causes and defects in the community and understanding them in order to move forward as a community, being ahead of the curve, not waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, or not waiting for that shoe to pinch you on that toe to think about, fixing it or getting another pair.
You're on mute, Chief Biko.
Thank you. Great build on that though, Chief Blackcoat. Next, we'll go with Chief Quietwater with the legal definitions and marine historical points.
All right, so I'll do the legal definitions. Number 1, American, a native of America. Number 2, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. Number 3, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute. Number 4, prisoner of war, a person, usually a soldier, who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number 5, school, an institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. And number 6, education, an enlightening experience. And then the maroon historical points. Number 1 was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number 2, providing unity and a strong defense came first. Number 3, maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. And number 5, maroons knew their European enemies' language, defenses, and plans.
Thank you, Chief Quietwater. Next, before we hop into this newest document, which will be the Dawes Roll, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the Constitution. Continue to reiterate exactly what everything is, or what's supposed to be the foundation of this government, but that we continue to point out that they continue to contradict themselves in regards to it. So first and foremost, we would jump into Article 1, Section 10. Share my screen. All right. So Article 1, Section 10, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and epistle, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So again here, as we usually always state, a lot of stuff usually jumps out. The two main things would be basically the confederation, basically saying again that no state shall enter into any confederation. State, whether it's the citizens or anything, the European who came to the United States citizen could not create a confederacy. Why? Because that's an American form of government. We continue to reiterate this until it actually hits home for the viewer as well as the listener, or when, anybody who's actually watching our videos. Again, confederation is an American form of government. So the European turned United States citizen, or anybody who converted to that United States citizen cannot be a part of a confederation. Also here, it states here that gold and silver are the only thing as far as acceptable as payment of debts. So anytime that we get paid, we're not getting paid anything that's gold and silver, and we're not getting paid anything that's a derivative of gold and silver. As Chief Alligator was reading in 12 steps, step number 10 stated that the gold and silver was taken out of the system by the Gold Standard Act. So if we know that, and we know that, okay, the dollar is no longer backed by gold and silver, then how are we even paying debts? And also raises a question to me, this government has no problem with, printing out excess of money to give to Ukrainians, Afghanistan people. But when it comes to the American, the quote unquote Black people, they say, we have to get things voted through Congress. So they always try to put these different buffers and things in our way to actually receive anything monetarily, even though that we know it's backed by nothing. So that means it's bullshit anyway. So that in itself should show us as the Americans that, damn, they're not even willing to give us the paper that's worthless to even continue to play this game. Again, the IOU notes are not backed by anything but the faith. So they aren't even willing to give you the paper that is backed by nothing but faith as a resource to help you all. That in itself should show you that you are prisoners of war on your own land and under military occupation. If that doesn't, then I'm not sure what else or how else we can, paint it for you to make it, clear as day.
I like how you said that about the faith, though. Like, they don't even want your faith. They don't want my faith. They don't even want me to believe, yeah, I'm rich.
Facts.
Keep you at the lowest level of the playing field.
But we want you to get out there and vote. But as far as the faith underneath, faith in this dollar, nah, we ain't even trying. Nah, we ain't gonna give y'all.
Got the immigrants for that.
Correct.
There's one way to beat it. There's one way to beat it, and we read it every day on the 12 steps, and that's, can you sit down for 90 days and not support it? Like, you have to get that in your mind. If you can't let these another group of people who set up a government for themselves tell you what days to celebrate, tell you we're going to give you this even though it has no value, and you keep participating in it. The goal is, can you sit down 13 weeks as a group of people? If you really understand how vital you are to their system with all your inventions and all your land that was stolen, can you sit down for 90 days and watch it collapse? Other than that, we're just playing with ourselves. We have to sit down. That's the only way you're going to beat this. You have to stop participating in it. It has no value. Like Chief Blackco said, it's all in your mind. You have to know that this paper has value when it doesn't. It's all a mind game.
Absolutely. Great points made by both of you all there. Next, we'll jump into Article 6. And again, just another contradiction. And we'll even highlight that before we jump into the Dawes role. But Article 6, Paragraph 2, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So clearly here, within the Constitution, is stating that the supreme law of the land is the treaty. So anytime they make a treaty, that treaty is supposed to be, the supreme law of the land. Again, we've read in the 1866 Indian Treaty how that actually wasn't the case. The church and their, subsidiaries, basically the missionaries, they had to be within that territory. It was, non-negotiable. So if that's the case, if it's supposed to be two nations coming to an agreement, but one says, hey, you know what? I know we have this thing, but we got to make sure that our church, our belief system is on this land, and you have no say so, then that in itself is showing that that supersedes whatever contract, whatever treaty is about to be, made between these two quote unquote nations. So again, that just highlights that. And again, we're going to show another treaty, 1833 treaty with the Creeks, that was not the supreme law of the land, one, because it wasn't even made with the government and the people of the land, and two, that treaty was never even upheld anyway. So it was like pretty much two contradictions in that one. But again, just another example of why we should not be believing in this system when they don't abide by, one, their money, as well as their supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. And lastly, Section 2, Article 2, the president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states. So last week, when we were discussing about the January 6 hearings, video clip we showed, everybody who was on that video clip stated that the president called them out there. Some even said personally. So if the president, understanding Section 2, has the power or is the commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy, and the militia, calls on them, called into actual service for the United States, it says it right here, people, then that means that those people who were at the Capitol, stormed the Capitol, were there for a reason. That reason, they were the militia, and to put down what, you may say. They usually call them what, insurrectionists, things of that nature. So if we look at the actual duties of the militia, it says it right here. to provide for the calling forth of the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. If we remember the narrative that was being spilled, it was saying, hey, this is a fraudulent election. President Biden isn't the actual president. It's a lot of lot of stuff going on in here. So wouldn't that be repelling insurrection if the laws of the Union, United States, weren't being upheld? So again, we have to understand, this system's law in order to distinguish who the pieces are within this game. So again, just wanted to highlight that before we jump into the Dawes roles.
Or one thing out there about Donald Trump, it seems like he understood the Constitution. It seems like he knew exactly what was in there and what he can call for the militia and still not get punished by it, because the Constitution says, as acting president, I can call for the militia.
And the people he called and went understood too. They understood their rights.
The fraudulent of the election.
Right.
And that's why no charges are being pressed. That's why in the
within the Constitution rights.
Deeper, he can't lean on the Constitution, Chief Blackcoat, because when you're lying about the money under your government or your business, right? The government is a business. When they're lying about the money, they can't pick and choose when they want to follow the Constitution.
Right.
If there is no money, then all this shit is null and void. But I get what you're saying.
For sure.
You can say, hey, I was just on this part. Yeah, but what about the fact there's no money since 1970?
Right. And that's the part we have to rip off. I mean, it's like, I'm not surprised, but a lot of people do understand this is fiat. It's just a part of sit down with it, get rid of it part that we're not grasping. But people are catching on to the fact like there's no money. So it's like, okay, so we know we're using Wendy tokens.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And that's why they can sell you Bitcoin and
anything.
Yeah, that's why we're there now. Even
that's
that shit's crashing. People are realizing you can.
I just found out it wasn't real money. I'm kind of disappointed. I'm like, I don't want it anymore. I'm feeling like the Joker. Just burn it.
Just burn it. It's worthless.
It's paper.
You could reverse it and say, okay, if it's just an idea backed off faith, well, I have an idea. I want, instead of 3 zeros in my account, make it 17.
Right. So
it's like, anyway, just put all you're doing is input numbers.
That's how I feel like them rich people be like, I'm like 108 billion.
Like, where you coming up
where
with
is
numbers? Exactly. Where you coming up
like,
with these
show
numbers?
me 108 billion, bro.
So go a little bit deeper with us. If you have to have faith in it, then that means as our group of people, every time you vote and you get benign and neglected, you like that. Because that's the only way it keeps going. Yeah, you have to have faith that I'm going to vote and get nothing, and I like that.
Right.
Well,
that's the only way it keeps going. You have to be a sucker for your own punishment.
We got a slave holiday.
Yeah.
Just be thinking like, are we watching what others are getting? Like,
right.
Do we care? 10 people did just, sadly lose their lives in Buffalo, and I didn't see anything about an American or Afro, whatever they wanted to, the term they want to use for us. But I didn't see anything of an outrage for a bill to come for us for our protection. And it's just like, why are we so blinded? Like, what are we blinded by? Honestly, like.
We'll make every excuse for
ignorance.
We'll make every excuse for that bill not to be passed. Well, we got to get the right congressman and senators.
You be seeing that, like.
Well, it's like, why are you making excuses? Just get the shit done.
Yeah.
You don't hear nobody about the Asians talking about we had to get this senator in there for this term. Like
that shit was quick work.
Quick.
And everybody peeped that. A lot of people peeped, but it's kind of like, are we gonna hold them accountable? But it goes back to that 90 days. That's how you hold them accountable.
Right. You
give me nothing, I give you nothing.
Shoot, I think that's gonna segue us right into this here, man. The Dawes Act. Chief Alligator, you still wanted me to bring up the American Removal Act to kind of set the stage for the viewer.
I'll read this and then we'll tie it all together for those haven't been following along. Dawes Act 1887 approved on February 8th, 1887, an act to provide for the allotment of lands and severalty to Indians on the various reservations, known as the Dawes Act, emphasized severalty, the treatment of Native Americans as individuals rather than as members of tribes. So this is key, y'all, because remember, they got pushed in Oklahoma on the Trail of Tears. And we read through various treaties how, or the last treaty, the 1866 Indian Treaty, how they got the different bureaus and different secretary and treasurers all embedded within their tribes, controlling the monetary value and everything. Now the United States government's going one step further and saying, we don't even want you to be tribes anymore. We're not going to give the reservation to the nation or the tribe. We're going to allot land to individuals. So they're going to dissect the tribe now. Federal Indian policy during the period from 1870 to 1900 marked a departure from earlier policies that were dominated by removal, treaties, reservations, and war. The new policy focused specifically on breaking up reservations and tribal lands by granting land allotments to individual Native Americans and encouraging them to take up agriculture. So you see what they're doing? They're destroying these make-believe nations from within by saying the nation doesn't have the land, we're going to give it to an individual. So that's like each one of us getting land allotments on this channel versus our nation having it. It was reasoned that if a person adopted white clothing and ways and was responsible for their own farm, they would gradually drop their Indianness and be assimilated into white American culture. So here we can see the trading places is about to get more aggressive, because to take the land from a tribe or a nation, that means another war. So we're going to give it to the individual, and then we can attack the individual family and get them to become Europeanized and get you to drop your American culture. Then it would no longer be necessary for the government to oversee Indian welfare in the paternalistic ways it had previously done, including providing meager annuities with American Indians treated as dependents. We learned that from previous treaties, how they were giving tools and allotments and stuff. The government couldn't afford it no more. So it's like, you know what, let's make them us, instead of providing them resources and tools to continue to do what they're doing. Y'all want to, anything y'all want to share on that, what we just read?
I definitely want to share some things that kind of jumped out to me just outside of what you just read in regards to them trading places. But we can just see in this paragraph the reclassification that they did with the American as well. We have Indians, Native Americans, and then even down here it says Indian again, Indian welfare.
Or with the American Indians.
American Indians. So it's like, damn. And this is within the same paragraph. They just reclassified them 3 times. We know that they reclassified the Americans.
I don't really care.
Multiple times. And like you said, it's just showing them, showing us as the viewer, showing myself, okay, they literally are trading places with them. First called them Indians, now Native Americans, now just American Indians. But we are the Americans now.
American culture.
That really just stood out to me there.
Anybody else? Anything anybody else want to share on what they this paragraph jumped out to them?
Same thing for me, just how the phrase where is it, where it says they would gradually drop their Indian nest and be assimilated. I mean, it's all in their plan. It's just a gradual, thing where they, they're just basically waiting for everyone to conform to what their ultimate goal is.
Chief Black Hope.
Yeah, I agree with it, with everybody said. This is a good bill. This Dawes Act it's important.
All All right, I'll keep going. On February 8th, 1887, Congress passed the Dawes Act, named for its author, Senator Henry Dawes of Massachusetts, also known as the General Allotment Act. The law authorized the president to break up reservation land, which was held in common by the members of a tribe, into small allotments to be parceled out to individuals. Anybody want to share on that part right there? Because what we hear is the $5 Indian, you know, amongst us in the streets, we hear $5 Indian, but we're reading what this really is about. This is about taking tribal land and breaking it down and giving it to individuals.
And they probably picked and choose in regards to what individuals they gave the land to as well.
I just see it as each individual having this land and not being able to protect it by themselves, because now you have broke the nation up. So now you way the fuck out here by yourself. You know, you started farming your shit, you growing everything, you living like good with your family, you got 4 kids, wife, everything good, grandma, granddaddy, and then these people just storm in, and you're like, what the fuck? And that's just kind of how I'm seeing this. Like you said, breaking these reservations up to individual. So now you're just spaced, and you're thinking, okay, this is my piece. Yeah, for now,
Right.
You know, it's easier to beat you alone than together.
Right. I'll keep going. Thus, Native Americans registering on a tribe roll were granted allotments on reservation lands. So this is where that Dawes roll comes in. If you registered on a tribe roll, then you were granted allotments on reservation land. Now, here's where we go back to the 1866 Indian Treaty, but notice the difference in land allotments from the Homestead Act. The European peasant got 160 acres per head of household, or 80 acres. Let's see what the American gets within these tribes. To each head of family, 1/4 of a section to each person over 18 years of age, 1/8 of a section to each orphan child under 8 years of age, and 1/8 of a section and to each other single person under 18 years now living or who may be born prior to the date of the order of the president directing an allotment of the lands embraced in any reservation, 1/16 of a section. So when they're saying section, they're talking acre. So you're getting 1/8 of an acre, 1/16 of an acre. Meanwhile, we got to play big picture. Meanwhile, the European peasant through the Homestead Act is getting 160 acres, while you're getting 1/8 of one as the American. So you see how they're surrounding you with Europeans with a whole, coming back to what Chief Blackcoat said, they're going to split you up and you're going to have all these Europeans squatting on 160 acres and you out here with your family solo with 1/8 of an acre. Y'all want to share on that?
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. What you just read was ridiculous. You know, knowing that the European peasant got over 100 square feet acre of land and they over here playing with 1/8 and 1/4 of sections. It's just, you know, these were tough times for our ancestors. And this is 1887, so that's you know, a little less than 300 years, a lot less than 300 years ago. So it's not that very far, 200 some years ago. It's almost insane. So it's just, you know, understanding how we got to where we are today, how we can have the New York City with the bright lights, knowing the actual horror that went behind is amazing. It's not amazing, but it's very eye-opening, you know. 1/8, 1/4 of a section. It's ridiculous.
Crazy. When you say it like that, 1/16, like just remind me of when back in elementary school when we used to have like a pizza party. They give us them tiny ass slithers of pizza, just basically a damn pencil thin pizza, and it's like, damn, we can't get nothing here. So if we just, you know, big picture that, or, you know, parallel that to what they're giving, it's like, damn, that's crazy. Yet the European that they're just bringing over here, making them, you know, converting them to citizens, y'all get minimum 80 acres. maximum 160 acres, y'all good. And it goes back to what you were saying there, Chief Black Coat. If you sitting on your little quarter section, who you think surrounding you pretty much? These Europeans who like, oh,
Right,
take yours
right.
too. You ain't got
And
no.
And I'm sure they knew, like, but you get comfortable, and then you get Lexi Daisy, then you get
Yeah.
complacent, and then that's when it's like all hell breaks loose.
Kind of like now, you get comfortable and then all along they're moving in on you, and the next thing you know, they've taken your land.
Next thing you know, Buffalo. Same kind of scripts, just now that the land's already gone. How do I keep it?
Right.
We'll tie in the map on this section, and then somebody else can pick up after we do this section. If you can, you can go back to that section I was at.
Section 8.
All right. So Section 8 of the Act specified groups that were to be exempt from the law. So as we read this, basically this is the summary before the Act, but this is going to paint the picture for us. The provisions of, let me move this on the other side. All right. Section 8 of the Act specified groups that were to be exempt from the law. It stated that the provisions of this act shall not extend to the territory occupied by the Cherokees, Creeks, Choctaws, Chickasaws, Seminoles. We got some new tribes, the Sage, the Miamis, the Pioras, and Sacs and Foxes in the Indian Territory, nor to any of the reservations of the Seneca Nation of New York Indians in the state of New York, or to that strip of territory in the state of Nebraska adjoining the Sioux of the South. So can you share that map now, Chief Biko, real quick? And this is why the timeline of what we're doing means so much, so we can understand everything. If you use your cursor, Chief Biko, everything east of the Mississippi, this is where those original 5 tribes were: the Creek, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Seminole, Choctaw. They exited this or moved those 5 nations into Indian Territory in 1830, which was known as the Indian Territory, which became Oklahoma. My question to y'all is, what happened to the original Creeks, Cherokee, Seminole, and Choctaw? They were in the Seminole Wars, and we're in it to this day.
It never ended.
It never ended. So what we're reading about right now in the Dawes Act are the people who were getting fucked over that moved into Indian Territory in 1830. With me? 50-something years later, they're saying, oh, that land we gave those 5 nations, oh yeah, we finna break that down into individuals now. Meanwhile, we still over here under Special Order 15 with General Sherman talking about we can't infiltrate them. We're still warring on the East Coast.
Still fighting.
Y'all want to build on that real quick before we get back? We have to remember the timeline.
Right, and we have to remember that people stay home again. Now that's here in that Dawes Act, we're on that map now, but it was kind of hitching at the fact that this Dawes Act won't extend over to them because we won't have no control over that. So pushing over here towards this Indian Territory, yeah, we gotta understand that the family was separated, and now you have people under United States government law, and then you still have, like I said, General Sherman down here, wherever he was in Florida, trying to defend it, trying to get the land, trying to get civil with us, put it in those terms.
That is a good point.
Yeah, you just made a great point. Like you said, we don't have no control over them. We couldn't have wrote them off, and it just they even talk about it in one of these treaties, the treaties with the Creeks, 1833. So they like to say the American Removal Act, 1830. This is 3 years after. If you take a look at this article, it says, it is hereby mutually understood and agreed between the parties of this treaty that the land assigned to the Creek Americans by the second article, therefore, shall be taken and considered the property of the whole Creek or Creek Nation, Muscogee Creek Nation, as well as those now residing upon the land, as the great body of said nation who still remain on the east side of the Mississippi. So this is 3 years after that American Removal Act. They're stating exactly what Chief Blackcoat just said. We know majority of y'all still on the east side of the Mississippi, but as far as y'all that done contracted with us and our military, yeah, whatever they even said y'all was going to be allotted, null and void. First of all, one, you signed it with our military, so that shit we ain't gonna go by. And two, we ain't gonna go by it anyway. We want to abide by our own goddamn constitution. So scratch all that. This is the new rules. So that just in itself just highlighted exactly what you stated there, Chief.
Yep, we just want to just,
All
again,
right, we all pull that up.
somebody else want to pick up or subsequent events?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and continue. Subsequent events, however, extended the Act's provisions to these groups as well. In 1893, President Grover Cleveland appointed the Dawes Commission to negotiate with the Cherokees, Creeks, Choctaw, Chickasaws, and Seminoles, who were known as the 5 civilized tribes. So, as it clearly said here in Section 8, that none of this stuff will specify to these Americans outside of the Indian territory. It's saying here that now, 1893, we're gonna make sure that it applies to you all. So that's interesting there. They continue to quickly reneged on that promise. As a result of these negotiations, several acts were passed that allotted a share of common property to members of the 5 civilized tribes in exchange for abolishing their tribal governments and recognizing state and federal laws.
Stop right there. Stop right there. That's what we were reading in the 1866 Indian Treaty, how you can't call yourself fully self-supporting as a group of people when you got another nation dependent on paying you your stipend.
Mm-hmm.
So here, what you see them doing is basically saying, yeah, we finna make y'all US citizens. Fuck all that 5 civilized tribe shit. You're gonna be recognized by state and federal laws. That means your tribal laws don't even matter no more. We're dissolving your government and we're gonna put the land under individuals, like Chief Blackcoat said. It's military tactic. We want you ass out in the wind by yourself. So when we pull up late night with the white sheets on and hang your ass, we get your property. That's how you get your Masons and your Eastern Stars. And that's how we were protecting ourselves. We had to know who was the protectors in our community. They were hanging people that were landowners. They weren't just randomly hanging you. They knew who they were coming to string up in your town. Y'all want to build on that?
I mean, it rhymes today. How many people, have come up missing or have been locked up that were doing good work in our community? I was reading something the other day, the actual security guard at Tops during the Buffalo shootings, he was creating a water engine. Like he was working on getting a patent to create that. So just paralleling to exactly what you said, okay, if we know somebody, an American has, this land, we know that it's not many of them anyway. Let's surround them. Let's make sure they cultivate the land how it needs to be. Then we're gonna off them and their offspring. No kids, so no land is gonna be given to the offspring. So now that's our land. Same thing as we can kind of parallel it to this the top situation. Knock off that man, inventor that was going to create an industry that was going to shut down or prevent all this gas crisis that they like to put out there. All of these other things. So it's like, okay, let's go ahead and off him.
I'm thinking about, oh my bad, go ahead. My bad.
Now go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about we do the inventions every week and the industries, where did they go? Oh, well, you were off in your little quarter section. Right. Nobody around. You're out of there. And how no revenue coming from those industries today, it's kind of like, yeah, because they're gone and there was nobody to claim. Just completely wiped out. That's where they are.
Basically just isolated. I mean, they were very strategic in the plan of how they, isolated the people so that they can infiltrate and definitely take over not only just the land, but This is when they, you know, their thought process, because now they're thinking, okay, now I'm one of them. And so they're going along, eventually going along with everything
no
that they're
land.
feeding them. So they were very strategic with their plan, and eventually they massively just started going along with it.
And what about the part of Chief Quietwater saying something important? They didn't want to play fair either. All of that land versus my little piece of land is kind of
Right.
like, now you're trying to farm or till some more land. Somebody see you on their land, that's a reason to harm you. Or
Mhm.
just the fact that you have no type of space of nothing, to just kind of just deserted out to the outskirts.
Yeah.
I'll continue here. In order to receive the allotted land, members were to enroll with the Office of Indian Affairs, later named the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Once enrolled, the individual's name went on the Dawes rolls. This process assisted the BIA and the Secretary of the Interior in determining the eligibility of individual members for land distribution. So again,
Ooh, that's
individual
critical
members.
because you have to participate in walking away from your tribal land. That's what that's because we read, remember Dr. Claude Anderson's family, he knew his Dawes roll number. That means that one of his family members got in line and was like, yeah, I want the land for myself. I don't want it under my tribe. That's all the United States government needed you to do. Yeah, bring your ass down here. We're going to register you and we're going to give it to you individually. How that work out? Going back, you by yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's all clear now. It definitely is. The picture gets brighter and brighter and more clear as we continue to read these documents.
I need to start looking at when these holidays started. Like, when did we give up and just start playing around?
After 1965, because you weren't a citizen until then. Yeah, see, we don't even like to admit that. Yeah, you weren't a part of the government. So, but if we can push through this summary so we can finish that today, then we can start on the actual act. We got, what, 2 more paragraphs?
Yeah, all right, let me go here. The purpose of the Dawes Act and the subsequent acts that extended its initial provisions was purportedly to protect American Indian property rights, particularly during the land rushes in the 1890s. But in many instances, the results were vastly different. The land allotted to individuals included desert or near desert lands unsuitable for farming. In addition, the techniques of self-sufficient farming were much different from their tribal way of life. Many did not want to take up agriculture, and those who did want to farm could not afford the tools, animals, seeds, and other supplies necessary to get started. So damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
And that we do give you, it's gonna be untillable. You can't do shit with it. It's gonna be worthless. That's why we're giving it to you.
Right.
Didn't they do that in Florida with the first
Yeah.
chapter we read? Didn't they try to push them in unfarmed land?
Right.
Like, so how many?
Chief Blackcoat just said the same thing. They give it to you on the individual level, but they put you damn near in the desert where you can't farm.
Right.
Can't do nothing. Can't do nothing.
Wow.
That's just coming from watching film, looking at how we know the families always just be out there, and it's like, damn, it look kind of dry.
Yeah.
You out there by yourself. Daddy always got the gun. Just little things. There's always a little truth in something, especially when you read. You can kind of connect the dots. So, you know,
don't try to fetch that water from the well if there's anything.
Right, super dry. Gotta dig. They had to dig that hole for that water now.
Yeah.
We still got one at my granddaddy house. We still get fresh water coming through.
Wow.
Let me read this last one. There were also problems with inheritance. Often young children inherited allotments that they could not farm because they had been sent away to boarding schools. Multiple heirs also caused a problem. When several people inherited an allotment, the size of the holdings became too small for effective farming. Tribes were also often underpaid for the land allotments, and when individuals did not accept the government requirements, their allotments were sold to non-native individuals, causing American Indian communities to lose vast acreage of their tribal lands.
That's gentrification today. Everything you just read, underselling you, undervaluing your property. Tribes were also often underpaid for land allotments, and when individuals did not accept the government requirements, their allotments were sold to non-native individuals. Oh, so you don't want to take this $100 for it? We'll sell it to these peasants over here then.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what happened in 08. They undervalued our communities, and these Europeans came in and bought them for pennies on the dollar. So when you ride around what used to be our neighborhood, you're not there anymore.
Exactly. Can't even recognize it.
The bank robbed you. The bank's like, oh yeah, we valued it at this, but oops, we're gonna revalue it to this. Damn.
So all those beautiful homes, you know, just beautiful homes, undervalued. And that's the way they were able to get inside, because some of these homes are out there in Atlanta are beautiful and ducked off. And it's like, who built these homes? These are brick. They don't do that no more.
Crazy, man. But you could just tell history rhymes. Like you said, you just talked about gentrification. It's exactly what it was. Take your land, give you bull crap for it, give you pennies on the dollar, already giving you 1/16 of, an acre. So you ain't got much anyway. Now you're trying to split that between multiple inheritance.
Right.
And y'all can go ahead and keep it. I ain't even trying to fight over that with y'all. I'll go over
Each
here.
y'all get 6 inches, so everybody's standing on.
Everybody's standing on the block. So it's like, man. But then it kind of highlighted to me too. You said Dr. Claude Anderson was able to recall his Dawes Road. So if we see that, it's kind of like, okay, so if your name, or if you're able to trace one of your family members on the Dawes Road Act, is it safe to say that they sold out the tribe or their nation? Because again, like you said, you had to willingly volunteer to say, yeah, let me go ahead and sign my name up for this process to get 1/4 at best section of land.
I wouldn't say that, knowing that there was an American Removal Act where they were forced by the military, so that would be like their grandparents that were forced out there in the 1830s, because we in 1887 now. I think my personal opinion is where we are right now in 2022. We do not want to pick up weapons and organize and arm and protect ourselves. Those people that went into Oklahoma were not protecting themselves. They were under the gun of the United States government. So it's all downhill from there. They pretty much could tell you whatever to do. They basically told you, look, we're not gonna have this under the tribe no more. We're gonna give you each individual allotments. I don't think they had a choice. And we're the same way now. If something happens in our community, they've gotten you regulated to a point where they'll let you march and protest till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then they take your ass in the house, and they got their militarized police out there. You're unarmed, you're unprotected. Y'all thoughts on that?
Just rings true.
Yeah, that's just facts.
And it kind of highlights today, like when they are able to pick off certain individuals. Just going back to Chief Blackcoat's point, you off in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by your enemy. They finna pick you off. We all say we gotta go to another side of town to be protected. There ain't nothing over here. Let me move out here where it's, not a lot of our people, but my kids gonna get a good education, or blah, blah, blah. And those be a lot of the same stories where you see the kids end up missing, or they didn't end up getting shot by the police.
Getting garages.
You know what I'm saying? All kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, because you was out there on your own. You ain't even have the protection of the tribe. So it's kind of
what's under that? If you scroll down a little bit more, what's under that right there? Okay, now we get into the actual act next week. Okay.
All right.
Anybody want to share anything in closing? Everybody want to give their final statements in closing?
I think that it was a good read tonight. I think that, like I said before, it just makes things a little bit more clear as we, up to this point, how they just strategically knew exactly what they wanted, and they went for it, and they got it, and they continue to do the same thing. Current day, like we just said, gentrification, just giving us things, and we just going for whatever it is that they're giving us, instead of taking what we know that's rightfully ours and what we want.
Leave my statement. I'm gonna watch that episode of Atlanta again. I believe it was the new season, episode 3. I'm gonna go watch that just to think about some things.
How would that tie in?
It was about pretty much us going back into the neighborhoods where we originally stayed, and us just not leaving, saying this is ours. Having a deed from when their great grandfather used to own the land, and then they coming back like, hey, this is ours, and the white people are like, what are you talking about? And they like, look, my grandfather owned this property, 17 so and so. How'd you get here, and how am I not here? And it was a very eye-opening episode. FX Atlanta, called Atlanta season 3, or the newest season, episode 3.
Yeah, just highlight exactly a blueprint of what we can do as a group of people.
Right.
Take our shit back. So
yours, literally, like birthright. By birthright is yours. Like, you're not from the land, so it's like, what?
I think for me, it should hit closer because it's 1887 now. So that's like 130 something years ago. So that's your, as they say, that's your big mama. That's your big mama's parents. So when your big mama was a kid, her parents, which is your 2-time great, that's who they are in 1887. So some of us have lived to see our big mamas, myself included. I remember my big mama. So when she was a child in the late 1800s, our story is going to be different because we're coming on east of the Mississippi, so we're still warring. So we understand how we still got our land because they couldn't take it. But if you in that Oklahoma or you west of the Mississippi, we understand how they lost their land. And it's because their great-grandparents tapped out in the 1830s when they got on the Trail of Tears. You see what I'm saying? We never left. Our descendants never left. We can never forget that. That's why we got labeled the nigger and black and color, because we were the stubborn. We descend from what they call the stubborn Americans. Our ancestors never went into treaty with them. So it's been a constant fight till 1964 when they're like, all right, we'll be civil with y'all. We'll let y'all be citizens. But we gonna fuck y'all because we gonna let everybody around the world come up under what we gonna label you, which is a minority. And so here we are now, 60 years after 1960s, you got all these immigrants coming over here and they don't have no respect for you because they don't know who you are. And they come from being the peasant where they're from. So think about it. The Indians that come over here that run these gas stations, they were bottom barrel in India. They're not gonna come to America and be bottom barrel. No, that's the nigger. The nigger is the bottom barrel on this land. I'm gonna act brand new over here. And that's why you get those immigrants that, look at us like we're lower than them. No, they're lower than us, but they're not gonna partner with us because they know where they come from. They were what we are on this land, if that makes sense.
I do. It kind of just reminded me of, when you go to like a whole nother different school or state, maybe you go into college, like shit, I could be anybody who I wanted to be. I was, lame in high school, but shit, don't nobody know me here. And I just got the bag from the college. They finna give me all this money. Shit, I'm finna be a whole new person. So that's exactly, like you said, that's exactly how their mindset is when they're coming over here from their countries. Because like you said, if they were peasants over there, I ain't finna be a peasant over here. And we know they peasants because why would you want to be over here if you was a, noble person when you had some type of status in India? Ain't nobody coming over here if they didn't have, if they was of status.
Exactly.
I'm good where I'm at. Shit.
I'm just mad they really got the contracts. Like we got to start questioning everything. You can't keep going to the gas station and seeing one group of people at all gas stations and not have a fucking issue with it.
That's the contract.
They got like this shit is just they got the contract, and then of course other industries as well. But why nobody question that shit? Like, yo, hold on, why? Hold on. All you niggas that's not from here you own the gas stations? Get the fuck about here, bro. We ain't playing these games no more.
Yeah.
But we gotta get to that level of stop being mad at the hood, going to these industries, going to these gas stations, like get the fuck about here. We running this shit now.
Facts.
Because what are y'all doing? You got a
Right.
whole fucking country.
Mhm.
It's the
They
lack
want us to feel bad.
it's the lack of exposure, Chief Black Coat. Most of us, unfortunately, humans are creatures of habit. It's point A to point B. Right? So if you're working at a brick and mortar situation, you get off, you got your little ritual stop, and you go home. You may have the benefit of being all over Atlanta, so you're getting exposure. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't riding around during the day. So you're able to hit multiple different spots of Atlanta, and you're starting to see, damn, I don't give a fuck where I am. I don't give a fuck where I am in my city. They run everything. A lot of us don't see that. That's all I'm saying. So it's not that, I think a lot of this is we don't know.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just, yeah, I would go there. I'm just very oblivious, but
That's why knowing your history is powerful. This was another good week. If we don't know our history, then politics are fucked up. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we're so thrown off right now with everything that's going on. We really don't know what happened to us. But I'm excited about this Dawes Act because it's a lot of information in here that we're going to see parallels to everyday life right now. So we'll finish it up next week. What's next week? Week 13?
Week 13, yes.
We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary in 2 weeks.
Sure.